y'all ready to head off the trails? I'm the Cryptid Huntress, Jessica Jones, and I'm ready to take you on a mysterious journey right now. We welcome you to Off the Trails right here on the Spacedoutradio YouTube channel. If you guys haven't hit subscribe yet, please do. We would love to have y'all. And shout out to Bumblefoot for that kick-ass intro music. I always appreciate that. All right, you guys can follow us on Twitter at spacedoutradio, on Instagram at spacedoutradio show, and on TikTok at spacedoutradio. You guys can find me at thecryptidhuntress.com. And I have a pretty awesome YouTube channel. That's the Cryptid Huntress. So I hope all of you guys have subscribed to my channel. And I have some awesome live shows every Wednesday at 1 p.m. Eastern and Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern. So y'all come see me over there. You won't be disappointed, I promise. All right. So we have a fantastic couple of guests here tonight at Spaced Out Radio. I have my friends Brian Tseng and Long Island Bigfoot here in the studio tonight. And we're going to be talking about our trip to Montauk, New York. You guys, I know I was gone last weekend. I know y'all miss me. Okay, but I'm back and better than ever tonight. And I've got my fellas here with me to talk about it. Okay, don't forget that right after this show, Marquise has an awesome show set up for us at After Hours. So y'all go check that out as soon as we're done on this show. But not 1 second sooner, because y'all stick with me, okay? And then his show comes on. Okay. All right, y'all. Well, let's get to our guest, because we have a lot to talk about this evening. And I don't want to waste any time. I got some great guests. Okay. So let me introduce Brian first. All right, Brian is new to Spaced Out Radio. This is his first time here. You guys have met Long Island Bigfoot Mike before. And so let me go ahead and introduce Brian first. Brian just celebrated his 48th birthday with myself and others at the 2023 Montauk Adventure Tour. One notable thing about him is his father, Jack Tseng, was the founder and CEO of Tseng Labs Incorporated during the early 80s and 90s. Mr. Tseng's work revolutionized graphics on the IBM PC side of things when Apple was the clear lead. His pioneering architecture included overclocking of the graphics processing unit and other breakthroughs. Needless to say, Mr. Tseng retired comfortably from the field and was in a position to afford his eldest son the ability to earn a biochemistry degree from Occidental College in Southern California, and then volunteer organized for 8 years. Brian worked with doctors and nurses nationally to do medical advocacy based mainly out of San Francisco Bay Area. His organization was able to prevent them, that's hospitals, from shutting down multiple hospitals, or prevent them from shutting down multiple hospitals and facilities up and down California, which Brian was quite proud of. He's now living in Northern Nevada as a prepper, that's my kind of thing, and developing an RV park and travel lodge, which will eventually incorporate a healing center. The main abandoned building on the site is a haunted cowboy saloon and a brothel. Oh my gosh. But that's a story for another day. We're going to bring him back one day. We're going to talk about that because I want to hear more about that haunted saloon. Okay. All right, Brian. Remember, you're coming back to see me. Okay. We're going to talk about that. All right. So now let's get to Mike. Long Island Bigfoot Mike grew up in Long Island, New York. He has a curiosity for cryptids. Okay, absolutely. Between 2007 and 2011, Mike served in the Army and spent a year in Afghanistan. And while the impact of what he experienced is something he works on healing every day, searching for Bigfoot brings Mike peace and relief from the effects of PTSD. Walking through a primary stretch of forest paramount to his research known as Bubba's House, he became familiar with his surroundings for 5 years before he began documenting any activity. He began documenting via video and photography his interactions with Bigfoot and their families. He's also observed other entities and anomalies in the woods of Long Island and the Catskill Mountains. And I have some really interesting, I had some experiences with him out in the woods. Over at Council Rock, we did some Bigfooting. Mike actually got a video of a Bigfoot while we were out there. All right, you guys. So please help me welcome to the show my friends Brian Tseng. And I've got Long Island Bigfoot here as well. So let's see if they're going to come up. Well, there's Brian. Hey, Brian.
It's a pleasure and honor to be here. How you doing, Mike?
Hey, what's up, guys?
What's up, Mike? Hey, thank you guys so much for being here. Hey, man, it seems like it seems like I just saw you guys, but it also seems like it's been so long, right?
It does, yeah, it does.
Absolutely. It does. Well, hey, Brian, welcome to Spaced Out Radio. Well, both of you guys, welcome to Spaced Out Radio. Brian, this is your first time here, from what I understand. So
It is. It is.
yeah,
So I'm very excited. I'm starting to make the whole, I don't know, podcast, YouTube, Rumble circuit, and I'm quite honored and didn't think I'd be here. So here I am.
nice. Well, you're here. You're here. Okay. So you were one of the organizers of this trip. You and James Rink really put together this trip. And if you would not mind telling my audience tonight, and shout out to all my moderators in here tonight, everybody that's watching, kind of give an overview of what our trip was about and why we were there, because there were several facets to this trip.
Absolutely. And first off, I want to say, having now come back from the trip, because I did a couple interviews with Arkeem beforehand about what we were hoping to achieve. We definitely achieved way more and beyond my wildest dreams there. But essentially, you had the Philadelphia experiment with the USS Eldridge in 1943 on August 12th. And what they were doing is they were taking Tesla technology by putting a Tesla generator on each end of the USS Eldridge. It's like a, I guess, I don't know, it's a destroyer, okay? And what happened is they were trying to be able to become radar invisible. Well, not only did they become radar invisible, they actually became invisible because they apparently warped out of time and space, and really, unfortunately, not in a good way. Apparently, these are supposed to be real life photos of what happened. Several of the sailors on the USS Eldridge literally got fused into the hull of the ship. Okay, while in the middle of a time warp. And I know it sounds wild, but this is apparently very well depicted in the movie, pardon me, the Philadelphia experiment. Okay, and off of these experiments in time and space, they migrated over to Brookhaven National Labs. So when you watch the show Stranger Things, they show like Hawkins Laboratories. Apparently, they were going to originally call Stranger Things the Montauk Project. Okay, so we're pretty clear about it. It's not like it's a doubt. You sure that shows? We know. So the Montauk Project, they basically took this Tesla technology and in an underground base underneath Camp Hero on the east end of Long Island, beautiful area in town. My shout outs to it. They had an underground base where they were literally taking children, subjecting them to all sorts of torture, mind control, and experiments, and literally sending them into space and time while sitting in something called the Montauk chair. So I believe this Montauk chair was literally given to us by ETs. On the one hand, we had ETs who were working with us who were just hoping we would mess up, I guess, and they could take advantage of the situation. You know, it makes me think of the Greys and the Dracos who signed the Greada Treaty with the Eisenhower administration. And on the other hand, I'm told by the survivors, some of whom went with us on this Montauk tour, that you had alien representatives, ETs, scientists there who were just trying to help humanity move along, because as painful as it is, humanity does need to understand time and space and things like that. So needless to say, under what I call kind of the derp state or the cabal forces running things, these projects in time and space, these experiments were not benevolent. Okay. You know, if you saw Stranger Things and you saw the portal that 11 was opening up to the upside down, who in their right mind would want to go through that portal? Well, what our government unfortunately was doing, the rogue forces within the government, they were going around Long Island and other places and into the city, New York, and other places, acquiring children to unfortunately experiment on. And this involves everything from cloning and mind control, and time travel, and opening up portals to different places in our universe, literally. They lost, and I know the numbers, it's a huge gap, goes anywhere from 10,000 to 300,000 people, kids, boys and girls. Okay, and we can get more into that. The Brookhaven girls later, because they are an unsung victimhood that really does need to be told about to the world.
Absolutely.
But our main goal was to go find the USS Eldridge, because apparently it reappears, or at least the wormhole reappears, a time rip, and it's not a good thing, folks, every 20 years. So you got 1943, 63, 83, 2003, 2023.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
And I know Jessica's going to go more into like the whole biocamp thing and all that.
Yeah.
So I'll save that.
Well, it's the August the 12th of the every 20 years, August 12th. So we were there on Saturday, August the 12th. That's part of that. That was one of my main reasons for going there, right? Most of it for me personally, it was to try to see that ship reappear.
Yep. And we have some information on that. But to go a little bit more into the briefing, right? We wanted to find the ship, find the time rip, see if we could help those sailors in any way, see if we can help heal the time rip in any way. We'll go into more like how people want to ask, like, how do you want to do that? We'll go into that.
Right.
And then, and really that was kind of the main goals, and get together survivors with James and Angel, Angel's song. That's one of her monikers there, because we want to protect people's identities right now. She wanted James to make sure he did this, and James, like, I brought my organizing experience and some of my resources to help make the trip happen. Okay. But so with getting the survivors together and the USS Eldridge and the time rip, that was really my main goals, and the goals I think James would agree of the trip, and it got far exceeded. So I'll stop right there. But that's kind of like in a nutshell, and then we can go into like how we exceeded those goals during this interview, I hope.
Yeah. So like I said, it was multifaceted while we were there, and of course, we had Mike, Long Island Bigfoot was there, and so Mike and I, Mike, I had you on the show the week before I left, and we already knew we were going to go on that trip, but we didn't say anything. It was kind of like under wraps, right? I don't like letting everybody know like my plans and where I'm going and things like that. But we knew when I had you on the show last time that we were going to be meeting up and doing some Bigfooting up there, right? Yeah. How did that go
I had
for us?
gone out there that on the 12th for the past, makes 3 years in a row with a couple of guys. So all you guys coming out this year, we had always planned on it, but it worked out where we were just like, well, damn, like, let's combine forces. Well, why not? You know what I mean? Like, what? You know what I mean? But my personal fascination comes from Junior. You know what I mean? And that's, like, that's just me personally. You know what I mean? Obviously, there's a grand scale of things happening that I don't know. I didn't know nothing about nothing really. But it's very intriguing.
Jessica, that brings me to something what Mike was talking about with Junior. A lot of people, they seem to wonder, well, how do we go from the Philadelphia experiment to the Montauk project? And I believe a lot of this is related to CERN and the time travel and the portals. Really, it's all about the quote unquote bad guys getting us onto a negative timeline where they win. And so that's where the Mandela effect comes from. They've been messing with the timeline in so many ways, whether through CERN or through some of these projects related to the Montauk project, which these victims survived, and which I'm sure, I know is on the one show with this already, Jessica. And so, I think that's an important point, because people are like, well, great, people are doing these weird experiments, rogue government, but why? Well, that's why in a nutshell. And a lot of what was beyond my wildest dreams, at least, I think a lot of other people, in terms of the gains we had off of this tour, was healing the timelines and healing the primary timeline, as it were. And we could go a bit more into that later too.
Absolutely. And I feel like having all of the people that we had with us on this trip, it consisted of a lot of, I'm going to say, survivors of the Montauk project. And I was actually a little bit concerned because I knew that this was going to be a heavy trip for all of us that were involved. And, Mike and I, before we went, we discussed, we didn't think that we had been a part of any of these programs or anything. We were just there for the support. And, but I personally knew that it had the potential to be a really traumatic experience for a lot of these people, and for myself included, and everybody. But honestly, we got there and it was so healing for everybody, Brian. It was something that needed to happen, I feel, for us to go there with the survivors of the Montauk Project. I mean, these children have been kidnapped and tortured, and and they're not children today. But I mean, some of the people that were with us, they ranged in age from, a little younger than myself, to my age, to, 10, 20 years older than me for the most part. And
I think them. I don't mean to cut you off, but I think the survivors and them having people outside of that, like, just that were there to support them and lean on. I think we made a difference, like, for them, just in that alone, I think.
And then it
Yeah.
turns out that some of us were involved in one way or another with the projects and didn't
Yeah.
even realize it, which
Yeah.
my mind is blown because, spoiler, it turns out that what Arkeem calls Montauk 3.0 might have involved myself and my father.
Oh my gosh. Well, I found there's no coincidences, Brian, in my,
Right.
there's really no coincidences. So you have to wonder, like,
There
I mean,
was so
it makes
much.
you question.
Oh my God, there was so much stuff that, like, coming from every which angle that just lined up. So I mean, I don't know. My mind is still blown. I still can't wrap my head around it all.
Well,
Absolutely.
would you like me to tie together some of the time travel and what I mean by healing timelines?
Yes, please do. My audience would love that. And so would
Okay.
I.
Okay. So apparently, a lot of the early what Arkeem Ra, and I'd love to get him on here sometime with y'all for y'all, is they called it what he calls Montauk 1.0. And from what I gather, okay, so if I'm misquoting anything, and I'm saying anything wrong, thanks for the super chat, Cat Chaser, by the way.
Thank you, Cat Chaser.
If I'm misquoting anything, please forgive me, and just, I'm happy to retract anything and be corrected. But so I'm giving you what I understand from being with the crew so far and doing this work, okay? During Montauk 1.0 is when this child abuse that's going on, dissociative identity disorder, what they call SRA, rituals, things like that. So basically, and the Philadelphia experiment was tragic, but that then turned into the Montauk Project, which is even more tragic, Missouri man, because these kids were being so abused to create alters, to be sex slaves, assassins. If they wanted to talk or reveal anything, they had suicide programming in there, programming to attack other survivors and experiencers if they came close to revealing the truth. Some of these people are still being taken today by these programs with use of this literally Men in Black mind wipe technology and time travel. They can do that when you're in a room full of people. They could literally take you and no one would be the wiser for it. You'd barely be the wiser for it, except there's a scoop mark out of your cheek, or like a perfect triangle marks in between your knuckles that were not there before. Okay. And Timoth man, we call these, they're monarch stories. We don't call them stories. These are our testimonies. Okay. And that way we're getting out of science fiction and intellectual property. No, this is people's testimonies. And these are sad testimonies because, it makes you think, who wants to come out and say, I was a monarch slave, okay, under mind control, being injected with black goo made to kill, say, UFO whistleblowers to cover up trillions and trillions of dollars of black programs, and the fact that we have medbed technology, right? So prayers to all those, Val, to endure that terrible experience because, of the people that we know online and around the world and have reached out and have some kind of presence out there, those are like tens, maybe hundreds. Okay, great. This is out of thousands of people who just did not make it. And some people might ask, well, how did these people survive? Why are they still alive and talking? A lot of them are targeted individuals to this day. Not only are they being taken, they're still being messed with. And they're valuable assets because while they roam the earth, they can still be taken and cloned and have their consciousnesses harvested and enslaved and whatnot, is my understanding. And so, children's DNA repaired itself easily, unlike adults, right? And so people ask, why did they use children? Exactly. Arkeem and others point this out. The children have, like in the show, Stranger Things 11, they have psychic abilities that they can unlock at that young, innocent, vulnerable age that adults, us muggles, we kind of grow out of. And unfortunately, I'm sad to say it. And then when you look at some of the black magic practitioners, their favorite was the children. Why? Because in God's children, those are the most powerful, the most innocent. There's power there, unfortunately, that these folks abuse while we want to nurture that. They're our future. Yeah, and that greed of the wicked, that's never stopped. You know, we've been on this for so long, thousands of years. So needless to say, under Montauk 1.0, it was not good. A lot of abuse, a lot of experimentation. Montauk 2.0, apparently they began to refine their techniques a bit. Thank you, Missouri Man. You know, time can't be undone, but we can make different timelines, and we can heal timelines, and we can learn from what's been done. And as hard and rough as it's been, we can learn from it and grow and benefit, and may that serve the greater good, right? But Montauk 2.0, they began to get really good at time manipulation. I think that's what they referred to as like Project Ibis and Project Pegasus. Andrew Basiago with time traveling back as a child to the days of Lincoln for the Gettysburg Address. You know, my feeling with Andy is that he, because his father was part of the program as an adult, kind of as a military advisor taking part in it. Andy didn't get, you know, subjected to a lot of the negative stuff, like with Preston Nichols and all them that's been whitewashed, unfortunately, okay, in these book series. And I hope gets corrected by Peter Moon sooner rather than later, right? Although I love the series, there's a lot that needs to be corrected on the record. And so what happened was Montauk 2.0, with all the time effery, if you will, to get us onto the negative timelines, was to basically one of the kids, you know, in the chair, he's thrown in the chair, and he's told, you can summon anything. You know, we want you to summon gold. We want you to summon weapons. We want you to summon alien technology. We want you to open a portal to send us here to steal alien technology and get slaves, whatever, DNA, you know, like Weyland Yutani, literally from the Alien series. And what happened was he thought, well, if I can summon anything, I'm going to summon Junior. And there's still dispute over who thought of it. You know, was it, I'm not going to name any names. Was it their idea from the Forbidden Planet? Or was it a combination of people? Was it in the collective zeitgeist? Needless to say, when Junior was summoned, Junior is a giant Sasquatch. I don't know if he was like a paranormal Sasquatch, if you will, because he was summoned by the Montauk chair, or if he was a real Sasquatch that just fit the bill. I don't know. But he was a Sasquatch that basically tore up the base and attacked any of the science, quote unquote, we're going to call it Nazi scientists, because there's a lot of paperclip folks. Okay. Oh, we will get those survivors on here. Okay. And you might have.
Oh yeah.
More
we know a few. Absolutely.
Right. We know a few.
We know some. I'll bring them on. If my audience would like to hear from those people, I will absolutely bring them on the show. So y'all let me know if
super
y'all
chats
like
help people. Those help, because then you can.
It can help. That's right.
Montauk Tour 2024.
Yeah.
But needless to say, Junior was not a danger to the children. Whoever it was in the Montauk chair made sure that they were channeling the rage of the victims, of the children who were being abused, at their tormentors, and that Junior would be a psychic Sasquatch who would protect the children. And that is then what gave Arkeem and some of his comrades the ability to then have the base, free run of the base long enough to try to run missions to then correct the damage that had been done to the timeline. Okay. And apparently, and this makes a lot of sense, I've been wondering, and I've been consulted many psychics and gifted people and many people in the programs, and I wonder, well, why didn't they ever take me? What, you know, they say, well, Brian, you've been in the projects and programs, but in other timelines, but not this one. Then I've wondered why. And then in talking to Arkeem over these last days and weeks and now months, it turns out that he saw in the projects good timelines of the future, but mostly bad timelines because of all the effery, if you will. Yeah. But some of the good timelines, in at least 7, he saw world televised tribunals where we have all the Montauk survivors and perpetrators all mixed in together on trial. And I was talking to Arkeem on the phone at the time, and I said, Arkeem, why the heck would they put you abuse victims and survivors on trial? Like, geez, Like, that's harsh. He said, no, because we were all involved in the programs. We're all on trial. But it does become hard to sort out, and some of us are exonerated because we were mind controlled. What do you know? And victimized. Others, are brought to justice and whatnot. And he also sees those futures, a Rose Garden memorial ceremony there at Montauk over the bluffs near Council Rock. And he said he sees me there. So from what I can gather, it sounds like they looked ahead into the future to find positive time possibilities. Saw one where, who the heck is this Chinese guy in a suit, and they decided to reach out to me and track me back. And they probably, and Arkeem has memories of this now, okay, found my father and gave him a boost for Tseng Labs Inc. to give him that crazy, like, advanced computer chip technology that looked to me as a kid as Etch-a-Sketch diagrams, like by someone like 100 monkeys for a million years that's just sketching on top of each other. If you look at these chip schematics, it's kind of a joke. To then make my father so successful that it would give me the ability to be here. And what Arkeem in particularly remembers is using a portal to come to my father and I, like in the middle of the night. Probably my mom was there, me and my brothers were sleeping, and tell my dad whether or not he's going to take my dad and I through a portal somewhere, okay, and it's to help humanity, and don't worry, and they were going to give him knowledge and things to help him be successful so that it could help the future. And apparently my dad said yes. Oh, wait, here's Katie saying, I used to work troops, so one of the girls was a victim of SRA at Montauk. Yes.
Oh, sorry.
Yes.
I didn't mean to take that down so fast.
No, well, it's okay. We missed that. But yes, but to that point, Kathy, I think it was, there are a lot of survivors out there, and we want you to come forward. Real quick, what we want from everybody, because this is your testimonies, is you to do your chronology as best you can. Like, I was born here. I was taken when I was this old. I remember this, seeing a lizard person who was not nice at this age. I remember being returned here. I regained my memories here. I remember George Bush was like programmed to be my father, and the Queen was programmed to be my mother. This is real programming. We want to talk to those people. Off that chronology, you have a summary of your chronology, and off of that, we're asking you if you'd like to join our Full Disclosure Now movement. Join us, brothers and sisters. No. Demands for justice, like televised tribunals. Everything's in the light of the day. We want healing centers. We want money for the victims and to heal the Native American people. This isn't like reparations, like you get $1 million because you're the right skin color in the right city. But this is like part of what's going to happen, where we're going to have that Star Trek future. We don't care about your race or color, but we are going to start with some of the people who Native people would be. There's their logical start. Okay. But that's another debate. But having said that, the memory that Arkeem had in particular of my father, and this is very much my father, who's still alive, God bless him, was, fine, you can take me and my son through this portal thing, but not if it's going to hurt my son, only if it's safe for my son. That's something my dad would totally say. And so here we are today. And now I think, Jessica, maybe we can get into the gains on the Montauk trip and why it was so important that we came and what that has to do with quote unquote healing timelines, if you will.
Yeah.
And then Angie says, would appreciate hearing these people's firsthand account, what they went through, what they're made to do, how they cope with the memories. Yeah. I can go through some of that here. Maybe if we have time, if you'd like, and I'd like to relay what they've told, because I like to think I'm a good reporter for them. And because some of it's so uncomfortable, like I'm happy to tell you here without them having to say it. But go ahead, Jessica.
Yeah, well, you know what? Maybe we could do a show about that one day, and we'll talk about that, because I really wanted to kind of touch on the experiences that we had there, and the Philadelphia experiment, and the biorhythm, and the biocamp, and seeing all of that. I mean, I actually have pictures to show the audience tonight of some of the things that we experienced there, and so. That, what else? Oh, and Mike and I went bigfooting. Mike just had to hop off. He's got his son tonight, and he's got an earache, so he had to hop off. He said he's going to try to come back in just a minute. But yeah, Mike was a big part of this. He and Brian Minnick from Montauk is Strange. You guys know him. They're friends of the show. And my buddy Michael, our buddy Michael from, he's also known as DHP, Dark Hour Paranormal. He's going to be on the show next weekend, y'all. So Michael will be here to tell his parts of the story, what happened to him during that weekend, what he experienced. Okay, so we're going to talk about that next week with Michael. But Mike, Long Island Bigfoot, he was a big part of this. He actually took me and our friend Jonathan that was with us. Shout out to Jonathan.
Yeah.
And James Rink.
Yeah, John Williams. Yeah, James Rink. Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Mike took us Bigfooting while we were out there, and we went to a place called Council Rock late at night. One of the nights we were there, and James and Mike and we had some phenomenal experiences out there. And I wish Mike was here right now to tell you guys about Council Rock. Let's see if I can pull some pictures up, and I will show the audience. First of all, I want to show a couple of pictures because this is something that I didn't get a chance to do. Let me hide that comment. I didn't do this earlier. Okay, so this is the radar tower at Camp Hero. So if the audience is familiar with Stranger Things, the TV series on Netflix, it was kind of made after Project Montauk. Okay, it was kind of like a really easy, light version of the Montauk Project. Okay, like, they were doing mind control experiments, and that's where kind of my interest is, I do remote viewing, and I'm a remote viewer. I deal in mind control and things like that, and it's controlling my mind, by the way. But I'm very much into telepathy and psychokinesis and teleportation and all that kind of stuff. So this was right up my alley, with this. With the subject matter, let's just say. Okay. So I was actually really excited to be out there. We took a trip to the radar tower. This is kind of an infamous, it's almost like the centerpiece of Camp Hero, I guess you could say, right, Brian? Like, you go there, there's the lighthouse, and then there's the radar tower. The radar tower
it's the iconic centerpiece.
Absolutely. Yeah. So we had that. Okay, so I probably shouldn't show this to everybody, but I snuck through the fence. Brian got a picture, the other Brian. Look how happy I look. I mean, I look really happy, right, Brian? I'm like, yes, we found the hole.
Huntress. This is the Cryptid Huntress in her native environment.
Absolutely. I was all about it, man. This is what I live for right here. But yeah, we had a big old group with us, actually.
But I want to say we were, to the man listening, we're extremely, extremely respectful of the grounds. It's sacred space that needs healing.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So that was our crew right there. Mike's not here, so I grabbed a picture of me and Mike. That was when we were crawling through the bush. We were trying to get over there. But okay, so that was that. Also, there's when we first got there, we went to a place called the Bluffs, and this was the first step into like the healing process that we had out there. With a lot of the survivors that are there, that's actually like a straight shot down. How many feet is that, Brian?
Oh,
it's got to be like,
I feel like 50 at least.
50 at least, straight down to the ocean, a bunch of rocks.
And with the rains and stuff, they were a little close to the bluff. And I want to share with everyone a memory, because this is one of the good memories that our friends or our survivors had there. Is what they remember literally is taking flying lessons off that bluff. And there's a song called Lost Boys that was stolen by Eve Howard, is what she goes by, who was also in the programs. And it talks about being Peter Pan and with their friends Wendy and having a family and living under a town that cared about them. That's written about Montauk. And the Peter Pan part is they remember as children getting flying lessons off of this bluff, where they would literally have fun and tease each other and run off of this bluff and fly. Okay, so that's like one of their, But then one of the sad parts about this bluff is around here is where they would always run away and hide from the guards, because they were literally being tortured and held underground and in some of these bunkers at other times when they weren't getting flying lessons, which was most of the time, like 99% of the time, right? And then they literally would be electroshocked to their genitals or up their genitals and things like that. And this is to create, again, that dissociative identity disorder, to literally shock their astral body out of their body. It's that sick
Oh.
and satanic. But this, getting back to happy memories, this is a happy memory for them, and this is part of why they're there. And then looking, I believe, off of the island away, and the Eldridge time hole is north of the island. Okay, but that's the significance of this bluff.
Oh yeah. Okay, and so this is we had a beautiful clear sky that day. I believe it was the next day, that this was on Friday. The next day was actually the 12th. Okay, and so I want everybody to notice the sky and how clear it is. And the next morning, we all got up, and Mike and some of the other guys went out, and they did a little bit of Bigfooting. That's when Mike got that amazing video of a Sasquatch. We don't have that today. Mike is still gone. Okay, but I'm sure Mike has it on his YouTube channel, Long Island Bigfoot. He got an amazing capture that morning. And as he was driving into town going towards Camp Hero, they noticed that the sky was clear that morning. But as they got closer to the ocean, there was a thick fog. Okay. And it was almost, I'm not saying it was 100% contrived and like man-made, but it sure was suspicious, Brian, right?
As the day we're driving up, the morning of the 12th, as we're going towards Oyster Point or to Camp Hero, because we had two crews. I want to give a shout out to Bob Estes of Satellite Early Pioneering Entrepreneur fame, and Gary Fretz, who sells amazing sailboats down in the Virgin Islands, Caribbean area, and worldwide. Those guys helped make our trip happen. They chartered a boat to fit 8 to 10 people. I don't remember how many went out on their crew.
There were 8.
So while we were at Camp Hero doing work on a vortex, we're going to talk about that. The crew of 8 went on a 3-hour tour or whatnot, looking for the Eldridge. And while we were driving to Camp Hero, it was so foggy. We were wondering, oh my gosh, how are the guys and gals on the boat doing? Because it went from perfectly clear Montauk weather to like super foggy. And I don't know. Was a spectral fog, like a mist from a Stephen King novel, and he's got disclosure stuff going on too, people, or if it was chemtrails or a bit of both, okay, or fog machine off boats off the harbor, who knows, but it did clear up, right?
It cleared up at 3 p.m. later that day. It cleared up, and so, and I had, of course, I'm there. I remote viewed that morning what to look for, okay, and like where the boat was going to be and what was going to happen. And so I was actually, part of the data was actually the waves that were hitting each other perpendicularly, okay, like squares and crashing into each other. And let's just say that was actually kind of happening out there where the boat was. The guys on the boat were seeing not only the waves doing that, but also the sky, the clouds were doing that. And James actually said that some of them were seeing blue and green lightning out there, but they couldn't really see where it was coming from or where it was going. Okay, so it was just very anomalous. Okay, so it was my conclusion that it was very highly likely that the ship did appear that morning. However, it was hidden in the fog and we couldn't see it. So,
and our Vril friends, full disclosure to audience, and I think Jessica sometime will have Nigel Impey on. I can reveal his name now. He's what we call a reptilian starseed who is in direct contact with a crew of his reptilian brothers and sisters who in a ship above us, who monitor us, and they were monitoring us at Montauk. They knew we were going, and they said that we would see, and it's exactly what we saw, like a heat shimmer effect in a mist, but not necessarily, we wouldn't see the Eldridge. And then in terms of having to talk about what we saw or didn't see, the audience needs to understand that we had on that crew of 8. Oh, UFO Gold is saying, I was taken on board my ship during Desert Shield 1990. On board your ship? You mean an ET craft, UFO Golden? And then if so, feel free to throw up what starseed you're coming from. Basiago lost more eyesight. Yes, because apparently with Basiago, Jerry, when he went through those experiments with the early time warps, some of them, I think, especially the further you went, and this is where the human tinkering, not like with the more advanced alien portals, which is less bad for your health. You got to drink a lot of water. So anyone wants to go through a portal, if you're going to go, be careful, drink lots of water, because apparently when you go through some of these portals, your water gets replaced out. And if you don't have enough, it messes with your organs, like your eyes. Yeah.
Yeah. Ooh.
Yeah. But we had parasensitive people there to do etheric and astral and soul retrieval recovery work with the sailors. And they saw more than what, say, people who don't have their third eye open past the veil can see. And we could talk about that too now or later if you want. Jessica.
Absolutely. Oh, well, we can talk about it now. You know, I want we can touch on this, and then let's move on to, because we got less than 20 minutes, but that's plenty of time. We can you and I we can whiz through some of this stuff. But I wanted to talk about the barracks area and the ceremony that we did.
Yes.
And we got to talk about that, and maybe we can touch on the Council Rock a little bit where we went. And
okay.
Yeah, okay. And that's it. So yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so let's debrief the Eldridge. So what do we get out of the Eldridge? Basically, among our parasensitives, we had Andrea and visiting from Czechoslovakia. She has a great following, and I think sometime we'll probably provide links to that here and vice versa. And she and Catherine and Anna, they can all see. And what they were seeing in their mind's eye, we got corroboration from Nigel's friends upstairs. Garth, particular, he's a commander of their Vril ship. These are benevolent Vril, not the Donald Marshall parasite Vril in your eye, not the Vril Damen in the Thule Society from the Nazis and the Hitler's Bell and the reverse engineered UFOs. These are Vril. They look more like kind of Land of the Lost Saurians, who are nice, and they don't eat humans. Yeah, they eat meat and stuff, but not humans and stuff. What's underneath, Jessica?
Yeah. We're going to get to that in a minute with the ceremony. We'll talk about it. Okay.
Okay. But with the ceremony,
unless you're wondering what's underneath me, I don't know.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's
I don't know. A chair.
But with it is but with the remote viewing, sorry, not remote viewing. Now you're messing me up. Your mind messing me up.
I know.
Your Jedi mind tricks aren't going to work on me. No. With the vortex, basically while the crew was out there at on the boat, and we were dealing with a vortex at Camp Hero, what our people on the boat were doing was they were trying to make contact with the sailors and see what exactly was going on with them. And what they saw was it was 3 to 5, so I don't want to misquote the number, of the sailors who were very badly embedded into the hull of the ship. One, for example, had his eye, he was complaining about either his left or his right eye being part of the hull and separated from the rest of his body, and it was a painful state to be in. Right, so we got a lot of feeling for that guy. Another one of the sailors, his body was so embedded deep in the ship that no one knew about him and he couldn't get out. He's like stuck in there in the hull. And part of what my understanding is when that experiment happened in 1943, okay, with the USS Eldridge, and they were first sent into that time rip, the sailors who did not have as good an understanding of themselves and imagery in relationship to the ship, or who were playing around like, wow, that's cool, I can phase in and out of the hull. When they came out of the warp and they were still in it, they were the ones who got stuck.
Oh, my gosh.
What's under the radar structure, Damien? We can talk about that later too. But back to the sailors. What our parasensitive team saw was what they envisioned was basically helping. They saw that the sailors were in such pain that their astral bodies were basically separated, or their souls even were separated out from the ship, because they were in a state in between death and time and space, where normally if you die, you get to come out after 3 or so days and you go on. But because they're in the middle of a time warp fused into a ship, which is horrific, absolutely, they just couldn't. They were stuck for what it was. And so what Anna describes is basically helping the sailors to reintegrate and orient themselves, and then link together, kind of shoulder to shoulder or hand on shoulder, so they're all together, and then give them the proper light codes and explanations to them. And honestly, it's really complicated. So we'd love to have her on your show sometime to explain this.
I'll bring Anna on
to then guide the sailors out of the time rip and then to the light and be freed. And this was verified not only by our people on our boat, a little charter boat, thanks to Bob Estes and Gary Fretz, but also thanks to Nigel and our friends upstairs, they're saying the blue sailor for obvious reasons. Right. Well, if you were in the Navy back then, and it's like McHale's Navy, you wore this navy blues and the Popeye white sailor hat and all that. Absolutely. So thank you for your service. Yes, and Angie, we do pray for those people, and that brings us on to I think actually the vortex, because that was a win, helping those 5 souls. That was what we wanted to do. But at the vortex on Camp Hero, and I don't know if Jessica, while I'm talking, instead of watching my ugly mug, maybe you want to throw up some of those pictures of us at Camp Hero.
Absolutely, I've got pictures. Yeah, from when we were at the we did a ceremony. Okay, the barracks were another area of high like trauma and sadness as well, and so this is actually a picture of some of the barracks there, and James actually has a memory of being thrown out the top floor window of there when he was there, and that was not a pleasant experience. Also, we found all these, they're all abandoned buildings, and matter of fact, they had these tunnels too, or like it looked like sewer covers, but they were. Let me see if I got the right picture coming up.
And a lot of these tunnels right now are flooded out. So I think it was Damien who's asking what's under there. Basically, it's all flooded out. I understand someone sent a team of scuba divers down there, and I don't want to tell who. It wasn't them, and I'm sure Brian can talk about it more because he knows someone who apparently did that. I'm sorry, that's all I'm going to go into it. But that's balls of steel, if you will, to go scuba diving down there in the dark.
Oh, no way.
They said they found many miles and miles of tunnels, which corroborates our understanding of what's under there. That's us. We did a memorial cross just away from the barracks. And in the roundabout around that barracks, we did a moment of silence for people like Jade and Stan, who were sent through these tunnels as clones and never came back and were never revived and are very deeply mourned by some people today. Okay. Yeah. But at the vortex, apparently Mike here, you see Long Island Bigfoot Mike here, he could see the portal, and many of the other Montauk survivors could see the portal. I cannot see the portal. So I just saw a roundabout with a tarp in it. And apparently that's where ley lines are meeting there at Camp Hero. And there's a lot of pain. Okay, this is also confirmed for us by our Vril alien friends on their ship, who can have better sight on this than we do even. And this vortex is a lot of pain linked to these negative timelines, linked to these negative experiments that all focus there on Camp Hero and the Montauk projects and programs. And what we did basically, and I didn't know we were going to do this, but the others had this plan for up to 2 years at least, was to do a healing ceremony to release the souls of all the victims and to heal that vortex and to put in golden healing energy. And what everyone saw, but me, because I'm not sensitive, and I think Jessica can talk to, behind Mike, you'll see like way back behind Mike in the background, kind of like the trees back there. That's kind of the edge of like the glade or forest where there were Sasquatch and fairies and gnomes. And this confirmed by multiple people, everyone but me. Okay. Oh, no worries.
Oh, there he is.
It's okay. Here I am. Don't worry. They're not taking me out now. But basically, in the inner circle, what everyone saw but me again, as we were praying and releasing these energies and talking about healing the timelines, Mike, not to steal his thunder, he saw us in like military uniforms, but like Space Armada military, like think Star Wars, like black and grays, but not evil or anything like that, just more formal dress gear. And then what Angel and Chastity and Colin saw, and then Arkeem, I think he was more visual or auditory, like he heard and understood some angelic language rather than saw, but he might have even seen some of it. We were doing the healing ceremony, everyone but me, I don't know if you saw it, Jessica, an eruption of souls. Like imagine one soul is a golden orb. Well, instead of like 3 or 4 or 5, like the sailors on the Eldridge, an eruption of souls, like 4 or 5 volcanic eruptions worth. And I said to Nigel's people, the Vril, how could you, and everyone else, Chas, how can you guys see so many? Like they said, like literally up to billions and trillions. Like Carl's like billions and trillions of souls. But what it was is it wasn't just the Montauk victims, that up to 300,000 boys and girls. It was
Yeah.
all the souls, tortured souls from hurt timelines being freed and released. And what we were doing, unbeknownst to me, is healing the timelines, you know?
Yeah.
So, yeah. Yep.
Healing the timelines. It was, I mean, it was profound. It really was. I didn't see the visuals of anything going in the air, but I felt the energy. I mean, it was palpable. Like you could feel it. And I also was getting a presence. I was feeling a presence of Sasquatch and all these other different types of cryptids out in the woods. It's almost like there's a nucleus of like in the circle of where we were of like 4 or 5 people. And then all the rest of us on the outer ring, okay, standing around the outer side of the circle and the circumference. And then outside that were the woods, and I could feel a presence of all sorts of beings inside that tree line, all around us. It was amazing. I mean, I'm getting goosebumps even thinking about it right now. Super cool. So yeah, I just feel like it was a release, and it was a release. You could hear it, you could feel it from the survivors that were with us. It was a
You
release.
could see it and hear it and feel it. They had me lie down in the
Yeah.
center of the vortex and participate and give my energy. And they saw around me not only my aura, but what Chastity called layer cake. So where it was like me and a rainbow me, and like there's one me and like a red, a blue, a
All
green,
our
a yellow.
auras. Yeah.
And they said that since it's rare, she's never seen that before. So I guess it means that I have the ability to help heal timelines and bring them together on good resolutions. And maybe that's partly why, I like to think we're here today, because if that's true, I am very indebted to the people for saving me from the programs. And I didn't have to go through that. So if I can be here as an organizer to help any way, I feel least I can do, and with that timeline healing, this is what's going to get us to those tribunals and the memorials and the healing centers and whatnot. And and the Bigfoot helps the souls heal and find peace. Yes. So Donna, they were there. I'm glad you reminded me about that. All the Sasquatch, and the fairies and the gnomes and the elementals, and I think Jessica felt their pain. They can feel the pain that was there, and they were there to support us. And earlier, before we went, Chastity had gotten a communications from them. Unfortunately, the recording wasn't good. They went the day before there, telling us that they knew the work that we were there to do and we're going to do the next day, which we had pictured in some of those pictures, and that they were there. They were going to be there to heal and help us heal and support.
Absolutely. We only have a few more minutes left, and so I wanted to go through a few of these pictures. I actually have a really cool picture of you, Brian. We'll see if I can get this to pull up. You are on top of Council Rock right there. You look very zen.
Thank you.
I love that.
Because I realize I'm on top of their Council Rock, but I mean no disrespect. So I'm trying to.
There's no disrespect.
Yeah, I think when they met, they probably sat on there like that too. So
They probably did. They probably did. Well, there's a few of us there. I mean, this is a big rock. It was actually used by the 13 tribes of Native Americans. This is where they all met. A super sacred place, just absolutely beautiful. I mean, on top of like a mountain, right beside the Montauk Manor. Okay, which is a little creepy. That place is creepy. It's like a haunted mansion or something.
It may be a place where the people who are higher ups, mucky mucks associated with the derp state and these rituals and things, well, that would be a pretty good spot to meet. But I don't know. Might also be just a good spot to have. It
would be. I know, right? And then there's also one other spot, Brian, we haven't mentioned, at the Lake Montauk, where the Montauk Lake Monster is. So we got a picture here.
Yes, and our team ended up also doing healing work there, and our friends, the Vril and their craft upstairs, said they also saw us doing that work. And particular Chastity, when she dipped her wand that she got from Yuanda Wells, shout out to her. They did a lot to purify and cleanse that, because that was a very sick energy center. There was apparently programming on there to be something called the Lake Montauk Monster, to drag in Montauk survivors and get them to have suicide programming. I don't know a lot about that, but that's what I've been told.
Yeah, that's what I heard too. And it's really sad, very sad.
That's right, Missouri man. We follow universal law here. Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, I mean, this was, like I said, this was quite the experience, Brian. And, I very much enjoyed being there. And, I mean, we need to go back at some point. Maybe Montauk Adventure Trip 2.0 next year.
Actually, I believe everyone does want to do that already. Anyone who wants to go, you had time to plan ahead and avoid Airbnb shenanigans.
Oh, that's right. Well, we have people have an open invite because we invited not just us, but James actually put the word out on his YouTube channel that anyone who felt called to go was able to go with us.
And it was amazing. We had an amazing crew. You know, real quick in the last minute or so, I mentioned the Brookhaven girls and what it happened because there's a lot of dispute. Well, everyone talks about Montauk boys, but where are the girls? Well, apparently what happened is earlier on in the program, it was the girls were more at Brookhaven Labs. The boys were at Montauk. Later on, they brought the girls over to Montauk, and that's when even more stuff happened that's been revealed in the books. But so they're really, I think, properly called the Brookhaven/Montauk girls and the Montauk boys. Yeah, Matt M, thank you so much. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe, give those super chats. Make sure to check out Jessica's show under Jessica the Cryptid Huntress on YouTube and all that. And then also feel free to find me, Brian_TSENG at yahoo.com. If you would like to organize and assist in any way on the Full Disclosure Now movement, so we can all have med beds. Also, I've got a pet project, an orphanage in Kenya that needs a lot of help, and I need help funding that. So thank you, everybody. Thank you, Jessica. Thank you, Spaced Out Radio.
Oh my God, Brian, you did my job for me. I love that. Thank you. You just took over. I love this. Yes.
Oh, really?
You guys go follow Brian. Full Disclosure Now. We're working on it. I'm on Team Disclosure Now. Okay. So we're doing that here at Spaced Out Radio and on the Cryptid Huntress channel too. Okay. That's what we do. We are the disclosure, Brian. We absolutely are. I say that on all my shows.
We absolutely are. It's like the Hopi prophecy. We're the people that we are here for. It's like, where are they? We're them. So God bless.
You're everybody. It. You're it. 100%. We're all it. Yeah. Awesome. Brian, I just love you. Thank you so much for being here tonight. And please come back and hang out with us because this was a fantastic show. We have so much that we didn't cover tonight. So I need you to come hang out with me again. Okay.
Well, if you guys like me, feel free to email and like and put it in the comments and Facebook at me and let me know. And that'll be some kick in the tush.
We love you, Brian.
Not that I need it.
Okay.
Right, thank you, Jessica.
Awesome. We'll see you next time. Thanks, Brian. Okay. See ya. All right, y'all. Brian's amazing. Okay. Don't forget that right after this show, After Hours is going live. Don't miss it. Okay. And next time on Off the Trails, my guest is, I can't remember. Oh, I have Michael coming on from Dark Hour Paranormal. I had to think about that, y'all. I got Michael coming on. Michael Roser from Dark Hour Paranormal. It's going to be amazing. He was there in Montauk with us too. Okay. Is it him? No, actually, I don't have. That's next week. That's next week. Who do I have tomorrow night? I don't know. I'm going to have a really good show for you guys tomorrow night. Oh, I have Jason McLean. We're going to talk about Goatman. Y'all, I do too many shows. I love you guys. Have a wonderful night. I will see you guys tomorrow. Bye, y'all.